Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about Flux-core welding, when to use it, and how to get your machine set up to use it. Now, on first impressions, if you're looking at someone weld and you're seeing them use a wire feed welder, you could be looking at someone MIG welding or Flux-core welding. The difference is the use of gas. As we know, MIG stands for metal inert gas. The gas is what's going to shield the weld from the atmosphere and protect it, letting it cool, protecting it from porosity, making sure it's a nice quality weld. With Flux-core, similar to stick welding, there is no gas used. On stick, the flux is going to be on the stick electrode. On Flux-core, the flux is actually going to be on the wire itself inside your machine. Today we're here with YesWelder's MIG 205DS. This is set up for MIG right now. We're going to talk about how to switch this over to Flux-core and then put down some Flux-core welds, showing you why you would want to use Flux-core over MIG sometimes and how easy it is to switch over and get some good quality welds. So let's dig into the machine, get the MIG wire out and put the Flux-core wire in. First things first, we need to remove the MIG wire, and as we discussed in the installation of MIG wire videos, that these spools are one big spring-loaded kind of almost disaster if there's not any tension on it. So right now, this is all staying nice and tight because we have tension on our drive roller here. When we remove this, we're actually gonna leave tension on the drive roller. We're gonna snip it here with some welpers. We're gonna tuck this wire into one of these holes right here, just to make sure that there's always tension on this, because we can actually put this back into a machine and use it again. So we want to make sure it doesn't unspool. And like I said, it's very important that we hold it before we snip it, because after we snip it, the only thing keeping it from unraveling right now is me holding it. We're gonna tuck it into this hole, pull it taut, and then we're gonna spin it, kind of just and bend it back on itself again, just to make sure that the tension doesn't change. All right, so now we have that. That's all well and good. This is a left-hand thread, so to loosen, we're actually gonna turn this right and remove our MIG wire. Now we have to get the remaining MIG wire out of here, so we're going to take the tension off the drive roller and simply just pull it out. It's gonna be a little bit, there we go. Once it starts going, it's really easy. We're gonna coil this up and just throw it away. So we have the MIG wire out now, and we have to make a few small changes on the internals of our MIG 205DS to get it ready to run flux. So first things first, we have to swap our drive roller. So the drive roller is gonna be the wheels in here that are taken out by just swapping the tension off of it and then sliding it off. And the reason we have to change the drive rollers is that a drive roller for a regular MIG wire is gonna be smooth on the groove, right? The drive roller for Flux-core is actually gonna be, it's gonna have some texture in there, some zigzag, and that's gonna help it grab the wire and pull it along because it's a softer wire. So we have to make sure we put the right drive roller in. These drive rollers do come with your MIG 205DS from YesWelder, which is super rad. You don't have to buy anything more. You just have to make sure you put in the right one. We're using 035 Flux from YesWelder, so we're gonna put in the 035 drive roller. Just paying attention to this little slot right here on the drive roller itself and making sure it lines up and just sliding it right on. And then closing it and flipping up the tension. And now we're ready to put the actual spool of flux into the welder. So here we have the Flux-core wire, and first things first, we have to find the end right here and then install it in a way where that end is going to feed off the bottom and line it up on the peg. And now we can actually free spin this to get our wire into the drive rollers. But first we have to put keeping in mind this is a left-hand thread, so we're gonna spin it left to tighten it. Now, like I said earlier in the video, this is one big spool of tension, and if you let go, it will unravel and be useless. So when we pull this out, we have to be very careful we don't let go, and that we put it right into here and get it through our drive rollers, and we get tension on it before letting go. Okay, so now we have the wire in here across the drive roller. We can close the top drive roller and add tension. Once the tension is on, we can now safely let go. Close this up. We're ready to run the wire through and start welding. Now that we have the flux wire in, we've depressed the trigger, running the wire through the lead, out the end of the gun. We're almost ready to weld. We have to go to the machine and make sure that it is set on flux core, and we have to make sure that it is set to 035 because that's the size wire we're using. Now, before we actually start welding a little flux core, you might ask, why even weld flux core? Why go through all this trouble of taking the MIG wire out, putting the flux core wire in, and choosing this process? Now, with MIG, because it's using a gas, you can't really weld outside because the slightest bit of wind is gonna blow that shielding gas away, and now you're gonna get porosity into the weld, which is why stick welding is so popular on farms and ranches, because it's outside. You have to do it outside. This is a nice version of stick welding. You can go longer, faster than stick, but you still have that gasless system where you have a flux protecting your weld instead of a gas bottle. So it can be windy, the metal can be dirty, the metal can be rusty. It has all the positives of stick with all the positives of MIG, giving you a nice wire feed way to weld outside. So, speaking of, let's go weld. So flux core is kind of like stick. You have that flux coating on the top of it when you're done, so you gotta use a chipping hammer to clean it up a little bit to see how you did. And there you go, a nice, good, strong weld from YesWelder's MIG 205DS utilizing flux core wire. Welding is all about looking at what you have to weld, the environment you have to do it in, and what materials you're using: aluminum, stainless steel, carbon steel, dirty metal, fresh metal, and really just kind of picking the right process to have the best outcome. And that comes with practice and getting out in your place and welding a lot. So until next time, enjoy welding with YesWelder.